Welcome to Willow Healing Matters, the podcast. We are so excited to have you joining us on this journey where we explore different ways to empower your soul, whether it's healing in your kitchen or all the way up in the corporate world. Come with us as we look into different ways to heal your mind, body, and soul. Hey everyone, it's Catherine Cristani with another episode of Willow Healing Matters, and today I am joined by Christian Schnepf. In his early 20s, he had what society calls success. So he had the status, business, good health, and education, but he felt empty and questioned the point of it all. After a year of harmful thoughts, he describes his life as a bonus round and he gets to live it differently. He left Germany to explore dozens of other countries, immersing himself in different cultures, studying wisdom and learning from people ranging from retired CEOs to monks. Through these experiences, Christian discovered the universal desire behind all human pursuits, maximizing good times. Yet he found that very few know how to sustain them and that society and the economy often work against this. This realization led him to undertake a Ph.D. level research in sociology, resulting in the creation of the Good Time Ratio, GTR, and the Good Time Framework, a science-based systematic approach to measure and improve life satisfaction. Based on this research, he developed the GoodTime.app and the world's first life dashboard to help anyone maximize their good times based on data rather than guesswork. Christian also coaches and works directly with those eager to make serious life improvements who are often top performers, leaders, and change makers. The tools and approaches he uses are the result of a decade-long discovery and have produced drastic transformations. For podcast audiences, he can share the same actionable strategies and perspectives, and this is why he's here today to help us get more energy, clarity, and joy in our lives. So a big welcome to the show, Christian.
Thank you, Catherine. It's my absolute pleasure to be here with you.
I feel to also mention that you're a TEDx speaker. There's so much in your story to unpack, but so I'm very curious. The first thing popping in my head is this good time ratio. How do you even measure that? Like, how did that even come about?
Straight to the core, yeah? That's why I did a PhD on this, indeed. I thought like it's a matter of a week and somehow measure life satisfaction. Turns out it takes 3.5 years so far. So that's quite some endorsement. So how to measure a good time ratio? So let me explain firstly what the good time ratio is. So it's a metric to measure life satisfaction in a nutshell. And it measures basically the times of your day, of your week, of your lifetime that you feel attracted to experiencing, that's a good time generally as a definition, versus the times you're not attracted to experience. That could be a bad time or it could be an okay time, where you say, it's okay, it's nothing I like, but it's okay. So basically the absence of a good time. So we measure the good times. And the goal of every human being is to strive for maximizing the proportion of good times in someone's life. So that is the foundational core idea behind that. And to measure that, we measure across 5 life areas. So 5 areas that take place in any human life. To describe that as life is a game, then one area is you are the player. Then there are other players, the social. Then you can do some stuff, that's the actions. You can get some stuff, that's the obtainments. And lastly, you are in an environment. So that's your playground, your map where you're playing. So you can feel an attraction towards all of those areas or an aversion towards it. And depending on those, we can measure your total satisfaction, how well your life is running for you without you overlooking an aspect, which is important. So that was the foundational theory. And eventually, after I could prove it, we started to develop an app around it, to do it on a scale, to give everyone access, because we realized, or I realized after calculating it for an hour manually with the first users, and then getting this number out and then making a graph. And the moment I saw this graph manually in my hand, I thought like, damn, this is mind-blowing. I literally see how well my day works for me right now. So if I do this a couple of times, I see a trend in my life. But I also see right away what is affecting the quality of my day, so I can make interventions to improve it systematically. So that got the idea to base decisions on data and make strategic improvements with the ultimate goal to long-term improve my good times. So next year my life is better than this year, and data tell me how.
Well, that's the whole point of life, right? You want to keep evolving to
so.
get better. I like to think that's what it is.
Yeah. I totally agree with that. But yet so many of our decisions end up making our life actually more complicated than it has been before. I mean, how many have more money but no time? with the people they love? How many have a wonderful job title but eventually feel completely frustrated about having this job or whatsoever? I think the ultimate idea is why we do all of the things we are doing is with the outlook, with the hope that our actions lead to more good times in the future rather than less. I mean, tell a child, keep studying, you sit at home and you're gonna work your butt off, that you get all of that in your mind, and next year it's going to be more, more, more. And when you're an adult, it's going to be worse. And this is not encouraging at all.
No.
So the child is saying, I'm doing this, that my life is getting better. I mean, I don't know what's the problem of me just sitting here and playing computer games and eating chips. But if my mom tells me, your life is going to be better if I study and then you don't struggle, then I'm believing this. But I believe this is pretty much a lie meanwhile.
It's so funny because I have my child, he's 9, nearly 9. By the time this comes out, he'll be 9. But he has the same argument with me. Why do I even have to do this? Why do I have to do this, Mum? I don't understand. I'm like, well, what do you want to do? So his goal is to open an arcade, right? This is his goal, to open a big arcade.
Inspiring.
Yeah, exactly. So I said, okay, great. Well, if you can't do maths, how are you going to know how much you can charge people for each arcade game that you have? All right, Mom, I'll go do my maths. So, and like you said, but it's funny because kids get it already. Like kids, this is why they push back so much unless they're very compliant. And then later we get in life and then we go, oh, why have I been doing this all for so long?
Yeah. Yes. And it's not leading you. When you're waking up in the moment and saying, I did now 30 years what I've been told and completely forgot why I did it in the first place. If your child one day forgets about, I wanted to open a arcade and just stucks into this loop of, I need to study math more, or now I need to study another language, or whatever that is. Perhaps that was helpful once to build an arcade. But what if he ends up doing something completely different and then he thinks he needs to just do more of math? That would have missed the goal. And I think it is quite natural that we lose this goal sometimes out of our sight and just stuck in a loop that is not helping us whatsoever anymore.
100%. And I fully resonate with this because for years I worked as a speech language pathologist and everyone would tell me like, your job must be so fulfilling. You teach people how to speak, because I worked with children. You get children to speak. I'm like, it's actually not. I said, I'm really good at it, but like I'm not enjoying going in this. And it was when I stepped out of that I realized how unhappy I actually was doing that job. But like you said, it's that, well, why am I still doing this? Because it's almost like this expectation, or you get comfortable, right? Like you just get comfortable in that loop. And sometimes the unknown can be really scary, even though you're not happy.
Yes, exactly. But I think sometimes it's better to take a step into the unknown than stucking in something you know it's 100%. Not good for you.
100%. I fully agree, Christian. 100%. So once people get like this good time ratio and they start to look at these different areas of their life, what then happens then? Like what's the next step?
So they start experimenting. At this prototype that we released, you start experimenting to make adjustments in your life. On the one hand, you see what area you need to focus on. You see also what is blocking your energy the most. So we give a little bit of guidance at the moment. It's going to be much more detailed with AI support. But at the moment, we give a little bit of guidance that, for example, if there is a tension between you and your partner, maybe it is helpful to release the tension, focusing on another area, or just taking a step back for a moment and approaching it after you increase the satisfaction, the ratio, the good time ratio of other areas. Roughly, we give an outline. But the point is that the point behind this metric, or one of the ambitions, was that it is universally valid. So it works across cultures throughout history. With one of the questions I had in mind is if I would go back in time and let someone assess their GTR in like before civilizations existed, this must be possible. Like before we stuck into those patterns, what we got to do. So with this ambition, everyone who is using the app can experiment anything, like literally. Maybe my life is better as a single. Maybe my life is better to live with a luggage, what I'm doing, for example. And then seeing if it is increasing or if it is decreasing. And without having any measurement system, any metric to see the effect on the things I'm doing on my life, then this is very difficult. This is guesswork, basically. As our life is pretty complicated, or at least not necessarily complicated, but very complex, so with a lot of things, happening in the life, it is easy to lose the overview of what exactly was the factor that impacted now the quality of my day. And the more you get technical support like what we offer, the more the data get collected and the more clarity you have eventually on what is really the influencing factor. So you can experiment and you can literally play your life as a game and see if it gets better or worse. That's why the initial name behind this overview, what we present at the end, was called a dashboard. I call it now more like life navigation system.
Lifeboard.
But initially it was the idea. Yeah, initially, Lifeboard is a good one. Initially it was the idea that it's a dashboard like when you're playing a computer game. You have this dashboard in your screen. How many lives do I have left? How many coins? How many resources I need? Where's the best fun that I should go that things are happening? So you have this tool in your screen while playing this game. And I think like life is a game, so we are missing something like that. That would be quite helpful to have a little bit of an orientation. And that's why it's a dashboard.
All right, I'm going to call it a lifeboard. No, it's okay.
Call it lifeboard, I'm fine.
But I feel that what you are presenting is so important because so often we miss and forget to celebrate when we change something in our life and we see the positive impact of it. We actually forget to take that pause and celebrate it as a win. And then we don't get the dopamine hit, which then means we're not going to keep doing that thing that's actually improving our life because we're not getting the feedback that we need. Whereas by having the lifeboard or the dashboard with the life hacks, you can actually see those different areas and how they're shifting in like a visual way. And sometimes, it's like why reward charts work with kids, right? Because they're like, I got the next star, I got a next star. So it's almost like that we still have that intrinsic want in us that we want to see that change and that shift happening, and you've put it in this beautiful visual format that's interactive as well.
Yes, indeed. When I said some years ago when I made the prototype and I calculated it and then I drew with Canva a graph like how it could look like and I measured it, so the percentages I calculated in a graph. The moment I saw that graph, I said like, game started. I want to increase that one. How can I increase that bar? And how can I keep it up? And then I'm doing the same things and slowly decreased again. So I realized that, okay, that worked some weeks ago, but now I have different needs. It doesn't give me the satisfaction anymore, so changing something. And we somehow have this really, say it, a little bit unbeneficial habit that once something worked for us, we think it has to be always the same thing.
Yes.
And then we build a really static structure around that we got to stick to this thing, even though it doesn't give us what we were aiming for anymore. That is unfortunately, it's super energy efficient for our brain, that it says let's just automate it. You found the source of food, basically. Let's just keep going to the source. Don't explore anything else. But at some point, we also get we get dissatisfied with the same source. We get dissatisfied. Sometimes the solution is not helping anymore for what we wanted to achieve with. So it is quite helpful to make changes, but make sure that the changes are serving and contributing to the better.
And I fully resonate with that. So for example, the house we're living in at the moment, which we're trying to sell, was our dream house and we were going to stay here forever. And, right? So like we built it that way. And then we got to this point where like, actually our dreams have changed. We've shifted. This isn't a satisfactory area of our life anymore. We actually want to go, travel. We want to be close to the beach. We don't want this anchor and chain. And, so when we actually step back from that, we're like, okay, well, the dreams change, the visions change. And like you said, those areas of life just shift then. And instead of getting stuck in that program, we're like, oh, but this is our dream house. We're going to stay here. It's like, no, actually, let's check. We got a new dream and that's okay. Let's go. So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
I think it's important, though, that we don't make our decisions so permanent that it's so difficult to change them later when situations and circumstances change. It would never come on my mind or it never made sense to me that I would get a stable job, perhaps one I don't even like. And eventually I'm buying with a big mortgage somehow a house and I have to pay it off for the rest of my next 30 years. So I need to keep going to that work to pay off something I perhaps don't even like in 10 years anymore. It's a common blueprint society presents.
That's where I'm at. That's where the point we got to. Like my husband and like, why are we doing this? Like, why are we paying all this mortgage and everything like that when we don't even want this? Like it's just, what does freedom look like to us, but then also what does our soul want, like, and what values do we want? And like in your good time index, it's like, what has shifted
Yeah.
now? What's really important to us. So for us, it's like, okay, we want to have the freedom to grow our own food. So like you were bringing up food before, so we're like, okay, well, we can't do that here because all the animals eat our food. Like things like that. So it's really interesting when you shift that perspective, and that you have a measurable app now that you can actually measure that and track that. And it'd be really interesting, like long-term studies. I don't know. I'm just
Yes.
predicting. Yeah, you're like,
Yeah, no, really. The long-term studies are super fascinating to see how this is going. We see already, even in the short time we publish it now, I think 3 months is now beta 2 online, so users can use it. But since we had the first users 6 or 7 months ago, even in the first period, the first beta version, we saw over 3 months drastic changes in life happening, and like different job or same job increase in a huge drop in life satisfaction over time, and how that caused certain reactions, like I'm quitting my job or I'm looking for another thing. And that is super fascinating to see whether actions actually improve or not. So even though my business partner encourages all the users to do it daily, I think the user interface is for now a little bit challenging to do it every day. However, I encourage definitely to do it once, twice, 3 times a week, to have a snapshot of that moment. You can't go back in time, and before in the future you're fooling yourself that, oh, the past was so beautiful, because you see some pictures and you're in a down moment and you think like, why did I give up on that? No, you literally have the data how it was for you. So trust your decisions and move on. And that is, I mean, personally for me, that was especially a challenge when it came to relationships. So like, hey, I had a good reason to go on. So don't fool yourself, Christian. That was so nice.
It's so interesting you bring that up, because I do oracle readings to people. Anyway, and someone sent in this question, and I never had one. I never get specific ones. Most people are like, oh, just tell me, whatever, I'm open. And this person was like, is a person that was from 15 years ago going to come back into my life, and do they think about me? And like from a spiritual ethical point of view, I can't check on what they're doing anyway, because I don't know who they are. But secondly, the message that came through, it was like, just take what you liked about that relationship and go look for a new one. That was the biggest thing. It was like, stop sitting in the past, because if you're sitting in the past, you're going to miss what's happening in front of you right now. Like you said, when you step out of that relationship and stop, and then like you said, you had that clouded memory of what you think it looked like from the good point of view, especially when you're down. And I imagine it when you're down on your good time ratio across those aspects, that's when you go looking for those aspects of your life that seemed okay, but then there's obviously a reason it didn't work out, or that you moved on, exactly like you said.
Yeah, the issue is though that, as I said, our brain is very energy efficient, so it wants to save energy. And it's therefore just looking back, what was the source of a good time before in some moments. So you summarize all of those experiences to one emotional reference point, and then you're saying, I don't want to have someone new with all those attributes that fits more into my current life development. I want this person, because concretely that was that person that I'm associating that face with that feeling that I'm craving right now.
Yeah.
So that is a bit of the challenge.
Yes. Yeah. But I feel at the same time, that's your personal development too, right? But if you don't step out of those loops and step out of being with the same people, or the same relationships, or the same stories, or the same job that's not satisfactory, your life is just going to keep going around in that loop, like you said, and nothing's going to shift.
Yeah, the issue is that eventually when the pain point is too strong, then people change. So as long as they somehow have some comfort in their life, they tolerate it. I like to call it the okay zone. Like, it's okay. It's not bad, yeah? It's not good, but it's okay. And I think most people are inside of them already dead when they say it. Because, meh? Is this where you're coming from, as you call it meh? Yeah. So meh is not really like nice. I like it. I love it. And so in order to change something, we have 2 drivers. One is I'm running away from pain, and one is I'm running towards desire. So the stronger the pain point is, the stronger I'm motivated to change it as fast as possible. And the opposite is true. Like, imagine like a good metaphor is a magnet. the stronger the magnet is of this element of attraction, the stronger I'm pulled to walk towards it, to do something, to change. But if I'm neither having a pain driver to change, nor having anything I can walk towards, I usually just stay where I am. There is no reason whatsoever to put any energy in for change. So the tragedy is, though, that our society is pretty much built around meh. How's it called? Meh?
Meh.
It's built around meh.
If you ever watch the Emoji Movie, you will know what I'm talking about. It's like, meh, that's his emotion. Yeah.
Okay, that's your movie recommendation?
Yeah.
Maybe
Just
check it out.
go put your kid hat on and go watch the Emoji Movie.
All right.
Yeah.
So our society is built around this meh. Yeah, you don't all in and say no to everything else. That is great. But if you don't have this, the second best is you have some proper pain that you say, let me change it before I'm staying in the mess zone. It's just not worth it to stay here because you're basically just bridging until you die.
Yeah.
And there's more in life than waiting for death.
Yeah, 100%. And it's like if you're not choosing to improve every day, you're just taking one step closer to dying. So what's the point? Like it's.
Yeah, yes.
And I had someone teach me and said, there's accidental courage and intentional courage. So accidental courage is where your pain point is so bad that you have to be courageous to change the situation. Whereas intentional courage is that you can see that your life can be better and you take the steps to get there before you get put in that pain point and you can't get back out. So, wouldn't you prefer, I think it was Dr. John D. Martini said, wouldn't you prefer the pain that you choose to go after, or would you prefer the pain that gets thrown on you because you're just stuck in wherever you are?
Yes, I'm not sure if I would use the wording of courage in the case of I'm changing because I don't have another choice. And that's kind of not courage. I think courage is, I see over again when people are courageous, that's like, I can step back, but I do it. I decide to do it. I'm having the courage to address something I'm afraid of because it could go wrong, but I'm yet doing it. And that's for me courage. But wordings differ. So I think I definitely agree to you want to choose your own path. Say it like this. It is much more comfortable to choose the path someone else decides for you.
Yes.
As long as that works for you, because you somehow have a lot of structure. You can see what someone expecting of you. You can see role models, case studies, basically, in business terms. You can have an orientation. However, you're living the life of someone else. And the opposite is you make decisions based on what you desire. You say, I want to live my life the way I want. The issue with that is you step into the unknown. You firstly have to figure out, what do I want? And maybe along the way you start questioning this because perhaps that's different than anyone else and you feel like this is weird. Others say this is weird. And if things go wrong, you can't have anyone to orientate on. So anyway, personally, I decided to go my path. And even though there are some challenges, I find it much more rewarding. I literally just say my goal is to maximize good times. It's like a game. The goal is not to come to the end. The goal is to have a good time playing it. And if I don't like to play this game, I don't see a point to be alive, basically, literally. So in that case for me is, how can I play it that I have fun with it? We're in the same map, we're in the same globe, but we have different characters. And we have different skill sets. And we can play it that it works for our character. And it's usually more rewarding than playing with a character
someone else's
perfect blueprint of someone else's characters.
Yeah.
So
I say to my clients, live your truth. Live what's true for you, because like you said, what you feel is a good time is not necessarily what I think's a good time. And in the end it comes down to what aligns for you and what doesn't, because exactly like you said, if you're living someone else's dream and it aligns with you and your values and feels good to you, great, go ahead. But if it doesn't, why helping someone else get their dream and you not getting yours? Yeah.
I think you're bothering yourself with the attempt to please others. Yeah. Especially, there are so many people out there. I traveled meanwhile really a lot. Many years ago, the first time I realized this was when I was living in Shanghai. And there in the city center, there's 27 million people. So this is a lot. And I come from a village with 600 people initially. So that was quite of a change. And I realized I have different interests than the people in my village. But when there are 27 million people around, there are some weirdos that have the same interests as I have. There are enough, yeah? There are definitely enough of people. And that's just one city. We have 8 billion people, or how many? 8, 9 billion people on this planet meanwhile. So there are definitely a lot of people that share the same interests on the same stuff, want to go in the same direction, have the same perspectives, especially have the same values, which is, I think, one of the most important things. And you can't spend your lifetime with all of those people who resonate with you, you align with. So you are, even if you just spend the time with the people who are like you don't have enough time to have qualitative experiences with all of those people. So why would you choose spending the time with people who don't align with that? If you have unlimited and abundance of options for people who do align.
It's really funny because I teach people how to say no. That's like one of the things I teach my clients, right? But at the moment, because we're coming up to Christmas time and holiday season, I'm actually this is what we talk about is like, how do you want to spend your Christmas day? Do you want to spend it like dealing with family drama and all these things, or would you prefer to spend it how you want to? They're like, yeah, but we have to. It's like, no, you don't have to. You don't have to. And this is the biggest thing is that we, like you said, the brain lake's easy, but at the same time, what detriment is that to you? You know, they, like you said, you have all these people that are aligned with you. Wouldn't it be better to maybe spend Christmas Day hanging out with your friends and toasting and having a good time with people that are also weirdos that align with you, instead of putting up with the family drama because you expect that you have to? You know, this is, and it can be really tricky because you get pushback and everything like that. But then when you keep pushing back and find a win-win solution, that is when you actually feel like you're having a good time again, and it's not so bad, and you learn, actually, I'm just going to take myself out of that drama. Thank you very much. Don't want it.
I think, though, it's very important to understand, firstly, what are my values and what is important for me in my life. Because a good time is not the idea behind, or at least the way I say behind maximizing good times. It's not the idea to have a maximum good moment for one moment. Like on this Christmas, I went to only the things I wanted to. Great, it was just this one Christmas. And the rest of the year, you might be alone. There might be some challenges and your family is not backing you up. So I think it is always wise to consider the long-term effect on something. The ideal is that you say, I'm making my decisions in a way that they give me a good time now, like I'm spending the Christmas in a way that I enjoy spending this Christmas, while also paying attention to that the long-term consequences are also positive. So how could I do this if I say, hey, family, this year I really can't do this, I'm not feeling too fulfilled. You are important to me. I would like to spend quality time with you. Could we do this on the second Christmas day, for example? But please respect that I need some other time. And I would like to spend my time like this. Yeah. Is there a way that we can harmonize with that? Like get into conversations.
Win-win-win.
And win-win eventually. Or you really come to the conclusion and say, this is not my way. Like in my case, I rarely spend Christmas with my family. I mean, 2 years ago, my parents flew here because I'm not living in the country anymore. But that is my choice. However, I could also answer myself, family is important to me. So I try to make possible that I'm checking the messages frequently, that I'm having here and there calls, that I'm flying to them on important events, like when my dad turned 70, I just surprised them. These are things that are important to me. So I shouldn't be surprised and shouldn't be mad if I said I'm only going for the things that give me a good time now, without having answered myself what is important to me, what are the values that I like to address, and then not having acted upon. So this is quite an important factor if you want to have a long-term good time and not just 1 year, get it all, live the greatest
get it all out
in a second, and then 2 years, and you have another 80 to go. That's not so much fun.
Yes, 100%. And thank you so much for bringing up that does depend on your values and also the vision that you have too, because like I said, we were talking about earlier, it's your truth, it's what's right for you. So it's really, like you said, it's about knowing your values, knowing yourself, and knowing that, yes, this is what I'm going to do this year, but what's the long-term effects of that if you don't want to detonate a bomb really quickly and then have to deal with all the pieces afterwards. You want to actually make an intentional decision and go, okay, well, how can everything align? And I guess that's why you've got your 5 areas of life, right? Where it comes back to.
Yes, where I would briefly give a comment on that. Actually, we found that the data show that as long as the area self is high, so you're building your life around that, you're satisfied with yourself. You look at you and say, I just like who I am, and the best decisions from morning till evening. And if your social environment, your work, your whatever, all the other areas are supporting being the best version of yourself, that usually creates also and frees up the capacity that you can be there for the others. So you have a positive effect on the people around you, and you're lifting other areas as well in your life, but also in their lives. And if you find yourself in an environment where that gets the worst out of you, it can be the place that gets the worst out of you, your partner gets the worst out of you, as we talked about family perhaps, then this is not the direction, and it's certainly not sustainable. We see it over again when the GTR of the self area is dropping in someone's life, everything else is dropping as well. And in most situations, if the self area is really low for a long time, eventually in relationships, those get damaged. So sometimes it helps to take a step back, to work on a framework that helps you to be the best version of yourself. And with that energy, perhaps when it comes to family, which is a special case, coming back and lifting up the family again. That is a much more sustainable and effective way to
and you
have
almost
a positive effect.
become a role model, right? Because it's like, hey, you know, I worked on myself, here I am, you know, I'm showing up, and you know, maybe you can do the same if you want to. It's always their free choice.
If you want to.
Because it's always their choice. You know, that's the biggest thing. Yeah.
If it is attractive to you to be like this, live like this, have those benefits.
Yeah, 100%. And Christian, as we start to finish our time together, I feel like we could talk about this all night. But I asked the guests that come on the show, if you could heal or change something in the world, what would it be?
I would change the objectives and the metrics we chase. So especially in business and society, we have a lot of false gods, or say it, objectives, like I need most money, I need most fame, etc. And if I had to change one thing, I could change one thing, then I would change the objective to maximizing good times. So when you make a business oriented on how can I maximize the good times for all my stakeholders, for my customers and my employees, if I'm working, the same thing. When I'm building whatever I'm working on, and even if it is regional governmental initiatives. And so building an environment, building school systems, building workplaces, building relationships that consider that the goal is to maximize good times rather than sticking to what we believe they have to stick to.
Such a beautiful vision. And you know, it's so important, because so often we get taught that success is, you know, like I have the big house and the cars and I get to go on these holidays, but are you satisfied? Are you actually having good times in doing that? So I love that so much. And if people want to come and connect with you, Christian, or come find the app, you said it's still in beta stage. So yeah.
You can use it. You can check me out on the website. It's chrisw.co, chrisw.co. I think on Instagram there's also something, it's the same name, chriswgt, yeah, for good time. And if you want to test the app and get your GTR assessment and access to the dashboard, just go on GoodTime.
Amazing.
If you have any message for me, please write me. I'm always happy to read from people, to share when I can share something, and to get feedback.
Yeah, and I'll definitely make sure to put that all in the show notes so people can find you easily. They can come find the app, and that they can connect with you and learn to have some more good times in their lives.
Amazing. Yeah, let's have a good time together.
Thank you so much, Christian. It's been a delight. Thank you so much.
Same here, Catherine. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening to Willow Healing Matters, the podcast. We have so much love and gratitude that you have taken the time out of your day to empower you on your healing journey. The views shared by the person being interviewed might not necessarily reflect that of the host and should be used at your own discernment. Trust what resonates for you and follow your heart and soul guidance. If you have any underlying medical conditions or mental health issues, please consult with your healthcare provider before pursuing any of the recommendations. Likewise, you can always contact the person being interviewed to find out more information. This can be found in the show notes. Remember to activate, align, heal, empower, and find love in everything that you do.